We are delighted to welcome Édouard Moueix to CMB HQ on a very sunny Monday morning. Édouard, thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much.
We tasted the wines in Saint-Émilion a couple of weeks ago, the 24 vintage, showing absolutely beautifully. You very kindly agreed to come into the office to do 3 masterclasses today. So we've got one starting in a minute, we've got one at lunchtime, and we've got one in the evening. Lots of customers coming, lots of interest about this vintage. It's the first time you've come to do a sort of tutored tasting for, well, maybe ever, I don't know. So we're very excited about that. But we just wanted to take the opportunity before we do those to ask you a few easy questions, hopefully, about the season. 24 is a vintage that lots of people have some preconceptions maybe about already. So it'd be great to hear from you about your experiences. If we just start with the season itself, how was your experience of the season? Were there any particular challenges?
Oh, many challenges. And I think the great element of 24 is that it's a message that we've been passing along for years, but in the recent vintages where weather has been absolutely gorgeous and generous with us farmers, it's a real vintage of farmers. And we had to be extremely present, extremely attentive in the vineyard. My father has said his entire career that in order to produce a great wine, you need to have great fruit, and there's no other way around. And this year really proved it. The problem, what we lacked in 24 was sun.
Yeah.
There was rain. You know, Bordeaux is an oceanic environment, so we need the rain. We need the rain to refill the water reserves of the vine. And when you are in the best locations with soils that can handle that rain properly on their own, you know, there's nothing we can do. I mean, a little drainage here and there, but that's as far as we can go. The clay that will imprison that water and not really sit to the vine, the gravel that will drain it, and if it's as for the clay on a slope, well then the water will go away, and once the weather becomes dry, the vine stresses enough to then mature the fruit, and obviously the limestone as well, which will drink that water and just, you know, allow it to percolate all the way down to the water table.
Yeah.
So when you are in that sort of soils, great quality soils that provide stress for the vines, you did reach a certain level of maturity, and then the vigneron had to do the last step to accompany the vine by lightening the amount of harvest on the vine, putting aside the later maturing clusters, and then taking the risk at the time of the harvest. And the risk taking was key. You needed to go and get as far as possible for the maturity of the fruit, knowing the conditions were, you know, not clement. Do you say clement in English? Yeah. And in order to get the best possible maturity for the core of the fruits, and then sorting.
It wasn't a vintage for the faint-hearted, I think you can say.
No.
A vintage where you had to take risks, and you really were obliged to take risks in order to make characterful wine. I went into the tastings expecting the character to be slightly earlier drinking, and actually in the best properties where there are old vines and you've got that natural density, they're not early drinking wines at all. They're actually wines that have quite a lot of aging potential.
They do, and that's I've heard a lot of people say that, oh, we'll drink them quickly and you know, then move to other vintages. And in fact, I agree with you. I mean, it does remind me a little bit to the 2004 vintage, where en primeur the fruit was there but quite shy, and it's more the structure and the acidity in the wine that were holding everything together. And the Hauts today are delicious. Yeah. But we should not forget that if we needed a good vigneron, we need a good cellar master as well. And the time in barrel, as I always say, the time in barrel is about educating the wine. And you know something about education in England, great education, higher education. And that's what we're doing right now with the wines in barrel for another 10, 12, 14 months, depending on the weight of the wine. And so the wines in 12 months will be better than they are today.
Yeah, I agree. I always find it's such an early stage in the season when you taste at this en primeur time of year. More so than in Burgundy or in other regions. You know, Bordeaux is this first region that comes out with its preview of the next vintage. Mm-hmm. And I think more than ever in 24, the wines will change quite a lot during élevage.
Well, that's the thing. When you have a lot of sun during the summer, mainly, you know, there's a lot of fruit, and it feels easy to project yourself, or to project the wines a few months later. But in a vintage like that, it's much more difficult, and that's where the know-how, the artisans, of the cellar masters and their team is absolutely crucial.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to the campaign and the market. A slightly provocative way of asking this question, but why should people buy 2024?
Well, it's a quieter vintage. And if you look at those great vintages of 22, of 20, of 18, they're big wines, a lot of fruit, a lot of power, a lot of energy and noise. You know, it's like that very loud music. It's kind of Wagnerian in a sense. You know, the wines of 24, when the good wines of 24, because there will be very average wines. So the customers have to listen to their advisors, to the people they trust, people who know their taste, because it's a very heterogeneous vintage, obviously. But the good wines of this vintage are a little more like Vivaldi. You know, it's more refined, it's more delicate, and they will offer a gentle pleasure. And obviously, if I'm allowed to talk about that, it's not very polite, but the prices. The prices should be good. You know.
Well, the prices are good. We've seen them.
Well, I mean, we released already, and the prices of Bordeaux in general, and the leaders of Bordeaux need to show the right example.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, your prices we have seen, and they are good, and we're very excited about selling the wines at those prices. For the vintage as a whole, I totally agree. It needs to be released at the right price. It needs to be compelling. Otherwise, people won't buy. So, good answer. Can't disagree with that. We'll end with a silly question, as we always do at CMB, and we always ask a different sort of way of encapsulating the vintage. This year we've asked everybody, if your 2024s were a fictional character, who would they be and why?
Well, I've been thinking about it quite a bit because it's not easy, and I think the best comparison for me is David and Goliath, and David being 24, Goliath being the market. And all the I don't want to say tricks, but all the efforts that David will have to do to be accepted by the consumers, not to beat the consumers, but to grow to the level of the consumers' expectations.
Very nice. And David ended up winning as well.
Hopefully.
Anyway,
it will be the case again.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, guys.